Alright, good morning and welcome to break 354. Another pick your team break featuring a titanium case, a titanium priority box, and a mini starter case from the 25 Traders titanium as well. As you can see, we have our mini starter case, our priority, and our case at the back there. And our team list for today: Broncos, Aaron Livingston; Raiders, Alicia Greaves; Bulldogs, Nathan Sullivan; Sharks, Sean Munns; Dolphins, Maria Lagan; Titans, William Goodger; Manly and Storm, Peter Lowe; Knights, Hayden Smith; Cowboys, Scott Jones; Eels, Steve Harris; Panthers, Peter Lowe along with the Rabbitohs; Dragons, Charlie Wright; Roosters, Sean Munns; Warriors, Peter Lowe; and Tigers, William Goodger. Good luck, everyone. We have listed two new breaks. One yesterday, 358. We have the two titanium hobby boxes, the titanium priority from 25 Traders, as well as 24 Traders 6 hobby starter packs. Same one as we did yesterday. No, what's today? Wednesday now, sorry. No, Monday we did that one. So I like doing those. They're always fun. A couple of different series, and talking about a couple of different series is our latest one we listed this morning. Two cases, one 25 Traders titanium case and one 21 Traders case. That'll be split over 2 days. It is random team, so the Dolphins spot will receive a $100 gift card for the website, as they're not included in the 21 Traders case, and that break will be split over 2 days, one case each day once it's sold out. Alright, let's go. We've got a few people joining, been through the team list. Let's get these out and ready. That. Let's go. 20 starter packs. Silver 166. Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. In the titanium number 67, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Excuse me. And before I go any further, feeling a bit crossed over. Let's fix that. There we go. In the bronze, Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos. In the silver, number 92, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. In the bronze, Herbie Farnworth for the Dolphins. In the silver, 136, Luciano Leilua for the Dragons. In the bronze, Lachlan Galvin for the Tigers. Hot topic at the moment. Luke Brooks in the bronze for Manly. In the bronze, Luciano Alei-Lua for the Dragons. In the bronze, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. In the gold, 122, Luciano Alei-Lua for the Dragons. In the titanium, number 50, Lachlan Galvin for the Tigers. Number 32, David Fifita in the gold. In the bronze, David Fifita for the Titans. In the bronze, Kalen Ponga for Knights. In the bronze, Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. In the silver, 121, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. In the bronze, Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. In the silver, we have number 103 in the header card. So that'll get randomized at the end between all 17 spots. And our lucky last starter pack, in the bronze, another header card. So they'll both be randomized at the end separately. Let's go with these packets. Rising Stars, Harry Hayes for the Bulldogs. Milwaukee Fotuaika parallel for the Titans. Fan fave, Samoli Olaka-Atu for Manly. Big Tino parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Joe Chan for Storm. Jackson Ford parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Jock Madden for the Broncos. Harry Grant parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, Samuel Stonestreet for the Sharks. Tigers parallel checklist. Converters, Taylor Preston for the Sharks. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Fan faves, Dream Buller for the Tigers. Molly Olika R2, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Zach Lomax for the Dragons. Luciano Leilua, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Morgan Smithies for Raiders. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Women's NRL, Hannah Southwell for the Knights. Charlie Staines, parallel for Tigers. Fan phase, Dallin Weteen Zalesniak for the Warriors. Blake Laurie, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Maverick Geyer for Panthers. Eliza Katoa, parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Bradman Best for the Knights. Leo Thompson, parallel for the Knights. Fan faves, Reed Marnie for the Bulldogs. Isaiah Yeo, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Skylar Adams for the Broncos. Micah Sivo, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Jamie Chapman for Titans. Ezra Mam, parallel for Broncos. Payne Huss, parallel for the Broncos. Just making sure I didn't miss something. Club Heroes, Tom Dearden for the Cowboys. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Stephen Crichton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Fan faves, Jakaya Whitfield for the Cowboys. Angus Crichton, parallel for Roosters. Rising Stars, Benjamin Takura for the Broncos. Dylan Brown, parallel for Eels. Rising Stars, Kai Pearce-Paul for the Knights. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Chad Townsend for the Cowboys. Felice Kafusi, parallel for the Dolphins. Women's NRL, Holly May Dodd for the Raiders. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Georgia Hannaway for the Sharks. Dream Buller, parallel for the Tigers. Showcase, Valami Kickow for the Bulldogs. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Fan phase, Reece Welsh for the Broncos. Tolator Koala, parallel for Manly. Converters, Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons. Keanu Kinney, parallel for Titans. Women's NRL, Racine McGregor for the Dragons. Dallin Watine Zalesniak, parallel for Warriors. Rising Stars, Liam Henry for Panthers. Trent LaRoe, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Lehe Hopawate for Manly. Tyrell Sloan, parallel for the Dragons. The Converters, Episode Coruscant for Tigers. Cameron Munster, parallel for Storm. Retirements, Luke Keary for the Roosters. Knights, parallel checklist. Women's NRL, Isabel Kelly for the Roosters. Dylan Lucas, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Caleb for Manly. Raymond Fatala Mariner, parallel for the Dragons. Club Heroes, Max Plath for the Dolphins. Chance Nicole Klokstad, parallel for the Warriors. Women's NRL, Ali Brigginshaw for the Broncos. David Fafita, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars for Storm. Tohu Harris, parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Xavier Coates for Storm. Panthers Parallel Checklist. Fan phase Mackenzie Wiki for the Raiders. Jack Whiten parallel for the Rabbitohs. Rising Stars Dimitrik for the Warriors. The Hammer parallel for Dolphins. Season to remember Dale Finucane for the Sharks. Joseph Tarpanay parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars Jacob Laban for the Warriors. Herbie Farmworth parallel for Dolphins. The Converters Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. Tommy Talau parallel for Manly. Another retirements. Jordan Rapana for the Raiders. Rabbitohs Parallel Checklist. Showcase a Valami Kickout for the Bulldogs. Jeremiah Nanai parallel for Cowboys. Morgan Smithies parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars Evie McGrath for the Tigers. Roosters Parallel Checklist. Samula Fanu parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars Chevy Stewart for the Raiders. Nico Hines parallel for Sharks. Showcase Herbie Farmworth for the Dolphins. Tommy Turbo parallel for Manly. Season to remember Dally Cherry Evans for Manly. Dane Gagai parallel for Knights. Fan phase Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Parallel Dragons Checklist. Rising Stars Jack Bostock for Dolphins. Cowboys Parallel Checklist. Fan phase Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Jacob Carraz parallel for the Bulldogs. We got fifth last packet from the starter packs, and then we'll get into the case. Rising Stars Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. Liam Martin parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Sean Lane, parallel for the Eels. Fan phase, Patrick Carrion for the Broncos. Storm, parallel checklist. Showcase, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Ethan Strange, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Max Plath for the Dolphins. Helam Lukey, parallel for the Cowboys. Alright, that is the end of those. Let's just get them out of the way. The priority box, and let's find out who's scoring today's case card. That was something that I'd forgotten when I was listing the 21 and 25 traders case break today. But the 21 traders have the Legends case cards in it, so we have a chance to hit one of them in that break. That'll be awesome. Alright, Kyle Felt, number 31, Scott Jones with the Cowboys today. Let's quickly get these boxes out. Alright. Box number 1 out of our case. Didn't want to do that with this one, but that's alright. Fan phase, Mackenzie Wiki for the Raiders. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Max Plath for the Dolphins. Helam Lukey, parallel for the Cowboys. Showcase, Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos. Ethan Strange, parallel for the Raiders. Hannah Southwell, gold parallel for the Knights, number 1. There we go, look out. Who we got with the Knights? Hayden Smith with the Raz win. That's right, congrats. Scoring a number 1. Rabbitohs, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Jacob Laban for the Warriors. Herbie Farmworth, parallel for the Dolphins. Season to remember, Dale Finucane for the Sharks. Stephen Crichton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Dally Cherry Evans for Manly. Tommy Talau, parallel for Manly. Fan phase, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Charlie Staines, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Our Dally M Women's Predictor, number 33 for the Raiders. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Converters, Adam Reynolds for the Broncos. Leo Thompson, parallel for the Knights. Tiana Penatani, Women's NRL for the Sharks. Blake Laurie, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Benjamin Takura for the Broncos. Dylan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Maverick Gaia for Panthers. Eliza Katoa, parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Isaac Tago for Panthers. Titans, parallel checklist. Fan faves, AJ Brimson for the Titans. Wade Egan, parallel for the Warriors. Women's NRL Night Checklist. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Charlie Geimer for the Eels. Selwyn Cobbo, parallel for Broncos. Gold Converters, Nick Meaney for Storm. Moses Leota, parallel for Panthers. Club Heroes, Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. Jermaine Hopgood, parallel for the Eels. Club Heroes, Sarah Togatuki for the Tigers. Payne Haas, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Tony Francis for Titans. Connor Tracy, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Madison Bartlett for the Raiders. Dominic Young, parallel for the Roosters. Fan Phase Team for the Eels. Rising Stars, Joe Chan for Storm and Jackson Ford, parallel for the Warriors. Fan Phase, Sylvia for the Rabbitohs. Ruben Cotter, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Elia Nasio for the Roosters. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Raiders. Showcase, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Fan Faves, Tohu Harris for the Warriors. Big Tino, parallel for Titans. Gold parallel number 71. Jackson Ford for the Warriors. Jack Bostock, parallel for Dolphins. Rising Stars, Lycan King Togia for the Dragons. Luke Brooks, parallel for Manly. Converters, Pauline Razabel for the Tigers. Justin Olam, parallel for the Tigers. Women's NRL, Shania Power for the Cowboys. Sharks, parallel checklist. David Armstrong, season to remember for the Knights. Harry Grant, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Kai Pearce-Paul, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Rebecca Pollard for the Tigers. Jacob Little, parallel for the Dragons. Fan Faves, Yasmin Clydesdale for the Knights. Nick Meaney, parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, Lapoi Hapoi for Bulldogs. Jaden Campbell, parallel for the Titans. And that is the end of box number 1. Rising Stars, Liking King for the Dragons. Luke Brooks, parallel for Manly. Gold Converters, Jocelyn Keller for the Roosters. Justin Olam, parallel for Tigers. Women's NRL Roosters Checklist. Reuben Cotter, parallel for the Cowboys. Club Heroes, Joseph Tarpanay for the Raiders. Sharks Parallel Checklist. Rising Stars, Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Kai Pearce-Paul, parallel for the Knights. Converters, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Dominic Young, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Kira Dibb for the Cowboys. Jacob Little, parallel for the Dragons. Fan phase, Alex Twal for the Tigers. Nick Meaney, parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, Hapoi for the Bulldogs. Jaden Campbell, parallel for the Titans. Showcase, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Tony Francis for the Titans. Connor Tracy, parallel for the Bulldogs. Fan phase team for Manly. Broncos parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Peter for the Rabbitohs. Scott Sorensen, parallel for Panthers. Converters, Zahara Tamara for the Raiders. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Fan phase, Julia Robinson for the Broncos. Jermaine Hopgood, parallel for the Eels. Women's NRL, Taylor Prettyborn, the Knights. Max King, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Lachlan Galvin for the Tigers. Victor Radley, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Stacey Waka for the Broncos. Murray Talagi, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Moses Leota, parallel for Panthers. Fan Faves, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. KO Weeks, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Lily Ann White for the Knights. Tavita Totola, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Addo Carr for the Bulldogs. Ethan Strange, parallel for the Raiders. Fan Phase, James Tedesco for the Roosters. Rabbitohs, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Charlie Geimer for the Eels. Tackling Machines, number 38. Brooke Anderson from the Sharks. Selwyn Cobbo, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Jacob Laban for the Warriors. Herbie Farnworth, parallel for the Dolphins. Club Heroes, Blake Moser for the Broncos. Tommy Talau, parallel for Manly. Women's NRL, Zahara Tamara for the Raiders. Charlie Staines, parallel for Tigers. Gold parallel, Shaylee Bent, number 49 for the Titans. Parallel, Wade Egan for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Elia for the Roosters. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Raiders. Alifiana Kampi era, season to remember for the Titans. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Gold parallel, number 4. Justin Olam for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Jared Rera Hargraves for the Roosters. Leo Thompson, parallel for the Knights. 4 packets left for box number 2. Fan Faves the hammer for the Dolphins. Blake Laurie, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Maverick Gaia for Panthers. Eliza Katoa, parallel for the Storm. 2 to go. Showcase Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. Titans, parallel checklist. Fan faves, Jacob Preston for the Bulldogs. Jack Bostock, parallel for the Dolphins. And that is box 2, done and dusted. Let's go with box number 3. Rising Stars, Samula Fainu for the Tigers. Sam Walker, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Tane for the Warriors. Reece Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Showcase David Fafita for the Titans. Eels, parallel checklist. Fan phase, Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. Matthew Tomoko, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Dion for the Rabbitohs. Brian Totter, parallel for Panthers. Converters, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Isaiah Katoa, parallel for the Dolphins. Women's NRL, Aromi Titzel for the Broncos. Tolsor Koala, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Regan Campbell Gillard for the Eels. Taman Martin, parallel for the Warriors. Fan faves, Harry Grant for the Storm. Dean Mariner, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Georgia Hanaway for the Sharks. Dream Buller, parallel for the Tigers. Season to remember, Xavier Coates for Storm. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Fan faves, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Knight Parallel Checklist. Women's NRL Gold Parallel, Romy Teetle, number 148 for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs. Jojo Fafita, Parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Lehe Hopawate for Manly. Tyrell Sloan, Parallel for the Dragons. And our NRL Premiership Predictor, number 35 for the Warriors. Cameron Munster, Parallel for Storm. Connor Watson, Club Heroes for the Roosters. David Fafita, Parallel for the Titans. The Converters, Romy Teetle for the Broncos. Rising Stars for the Storm. Tohu Harris, Parallel for the Warriors. Women's NRL, Lauren Brown for the Titans. Ryan Pappenhausen, Parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Herbie Farnworth for the Dolphins. Ezra Mam, Parallel for Broncos. Fan phase, Tiana Penatani for the Sharks. Isaiah Yo, Parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Skylar Adams for the Broncos. Micah Sivo, Parallel for Eels. Showcase, Lindsay Collins for the Roosters. Bulldogs, Parallel Checklist. Rising Stars, Harrison Edwards for the Cowboys. Greg Martu, Parallel for Knights. Club Heroes, Alexis and Angelina for the Dragons. Jack DeBellin, Parallel for the Dragons. Gold Parallel, Tony Staggs for the Broncos, number 66. Lindsay Collins, Parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Oren Keeley for the Dolphins. Tommy Dearden, Parallel for the Cowboys. Converters, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Xavier Savage, parallel for the Raiders. Fan faves in the team for Dragons. Reed Marnie, parallel for the Bulldogs. Women's NRL, Keezy Apps for the Tigers. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Lachlan Galvin for Tigers. Apasai Coruscant, parallel for Tigers. Fan faves, Greg Marzhew for the Knights. Cameron McInnes, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Mawala Graham for the Warriors. Max Plath, parallel for the Dolphins. Season to remember, Connor Tracy for the Bulldogs. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. Fan faves, Connor Watson for the Roosters. Alex Seifert, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Grace Kemp for the Raiders. Brighton Nakora, parallel for the Sharks. And that's another box down. Box number 4. Fan phase team for the Raiders. Felice Kafusi, parallel for the Dolphins. Club Heroes, Tiana Penatani for the Sharks. Molly Olaka'atu, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Samuel Stonestreet for the Sharks. Tigers, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Cameron Munster for Storm. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Fan faves, Will Penasini for the Eels. Dylan Lucas, parallel for the Knights. Dragons Gold, parallel for the Women's, number 130. Rising Stars, Ethan King for the Roosters. Hudson Young, parallel for the Raiders. Converters, Jamal Fogarty for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Caleb Neville for Manly. Raymond Faitala Mariner, parallel for the Dragons. Showcase, Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. Harry Grant, parallel for the Storm. Retirements, Dale Finucane for the Sharks. Big Tino, parallel for Titans. Rising Stars, Joe Chan for Storm. Jackson Ford, parallel for the Warriors. Fan phase, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Jason Tomlolo, parallel for the Cowboys. Converters, Matt Burton for Bulldogs. Payne Huss, parallel for the Broncos. Women's NRL, Abby Church for the Eels. Nathan Cleary, parallel for the Panthers. Rising Stars, Benjamin Takura for the Broncos. Dylan Brown, parallel for Eels. Season to remember, Trey Fuller for the Dolphins. Stephen Crichton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Fan phase, Thomas Hazelton for the Sharks. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Max Plath for the Dolphins. Helam Lukey, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Jamal Fogarty for the Raiders. Connor Watson, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Adam Dewey for the Tigers. Lachlan Galvin, parallel for the Tigers. Kalen Ponga, fan faves for the Knights. Renato Militalo, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Lily Peacock for the Cowboys. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Sione for the Dragons. Gary Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Showcase, Herbie Farmworth for the Dolphins. Luciano Leilua, parallel for the Dragons. Gold parallel number 11. Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Storm parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Harry Hayes for the Bulldogs. Oh, Ike, photo Ike, parallel for Titans. Season to remember, Clint Gufferson for the Eels. Chance Nico Klokstad, parallel for the Warriors. Fan phase, Josh King for the Storm. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. Converters, Lauren Brown for the Titans. Sean Lane, parallel for the Eels. Women's NRL Broncos checklist. Dolphins parallel checklist. Women's NRL Pauline Razabel for the Tigers. Jacob Carraz parallel for the Bulldogs. Fifth last packet for our fourth box. Rising Stars, Evie McGrath for the Tigers. Roosters parallel checklist. Season to remember, Tamir Martin for the Warriors. Jeremiah Nanai parallel for the Cowboys. Fan phase, Tegan Berry for the Dragons. Morgan Smithies parallel for the Raiders. Dolphins checklist in the comments. Club Heroes, Josiah for the Titans. He signed one of his rookie cards on Monday, I think it was. We got a photo this morning. He didn't even realise he had a card. Alex Johnston, parallel for the Rabbitohs. So some young kid got his first signature card. Was basically the caption. Rising Stars, Kai Pearce Paul for the Knights. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Box number 5. Is that right? Yeah. Fan faves, Yasmin Clydesdale for the Knights. Sharks parallel checklist. Fan faves in the team for the Cowboys. Rising Stars Hapoi for the Bulldogs. Jaden Campbell parallel for the Titans. Season to remember Azali Faye for the Eels. Mitchell Barnett parallel for the Warriors. Fan phase Ryan Pappenhausen for Storm. Broncos NRL Checklist. Season to remember Rebecca Pollard for the Tigers. Justin Olam parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars Peter for the Rabbitohs. Scott Sorensen parallel for the Panthers. Our first signature for the break, White Authentics number 50. Rakea Horn for the Tigers. Mitchell Moses parallel for the Eels. Club Heroes Olivia Koenig for the Roosters. Max King parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars Lachlan Galvin for the Tigers. Victor Bradley parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars Lycan King Togia for the Dragons. Luke Brooks parallel for Manly. Season to remember Sean Johnson for the Warriors. Murray Talagi parallel for the Cowboys. Fan phase Blake Laurie for the Dragons. KO Weeks parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars Lily Ann White for the Knights. Tavita Totola parallel for the Rabbitohs. Gold parallel number 103. Holly May Dodd for the Raiders. Jack Bostock parallel for the Dolphins. Showcase Luciano Leilua for the Dragons. Jeremy Marshall King parallel for the Dolphins. Gold Converters Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Manly NRL Checklist. Rising Stars, Liam Eason for the Sharks. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Showcase, Lachlan Galvin for the Tigers. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Converters, Adam Pompey for the Warriors. Thomas Hazelton, parallel for the Sharks. Women's NRL, Madison Bartlett for the Raiders. Phoenix Crossland, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Ethan Bullimore for Manly. Jaden Sewer, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Jerome Hughes for Storm. Xavier Coates, parallel for Storm. Fan faves, Kennedy Sherrington for the Eels. Alifiana Kamki Era, parallel for Titans. Rising Stars, Lazarus for the Storm. Roger Tuivasa Sheck, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Elia for the Roosters. Jamal Fogarty, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Isaac Tago for the Panthers. Titans, parallel checklist. Fan faves, Alexander Brimson for the Titans. Wade Egan, parallel for the Warriors. Gold parallel number 42. Dragons checklist. Rising Stars, Charlie Geimer for the Eels. Selwyn Cobbo, parallel for the Broncos. Club Heroes, Leha Bawate for Manly. Moses Leota, parallel for Panthers. Women's NRL, Sarah Togatuki for the Tigers. Jermaine Hopgood, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Tony Francis for Titans. Connor Tracy, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Madison Bartlett for the Raiders. Dominic Young, parallel for the Roosters. Sylvia, fan faves for the Rabbitohs. Ruben Cotter, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys. Kai Pierce Paul, parallel for the Knights. The Converters, Nico Hines for the Sharks. Jacob Little, parallel for the Dragons. And last pack for the box. Women's NRL, Rachel Pearson for the Eels. Nick Meaney, parallel for the Storm. Box number 6. Club Heroes, Jackson Purdue for Cowboys. Chance Nicole Klokstad, parallel for the Warriors. Club Heroes, Lycan King for the Dragons. Nathan Cleary, parallel for the Panthers. Rising Stars, Benjamin Takura for the Broncos. Dylan Brown, Parramatta Eels. Season to Remember, Dale Finucane for the Sharks. Stephen Crichton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Fan Phase, Mackenzie Wiki for the Raiders. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Max Plath for the Dolphins. Helam Aluki, parallel for the Cowboys. Showcase Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Ethan Strange, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Harry Hayes for the Bulldogs. Mawaki Fodawaka, parallel for the Titans. Retirements, Brad Parker for Manly. Parallel Rabbitohs Checklist. Converters, Taylor Preston for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Jacob Laban for Warriors. And Herbie Farmworth, parallel for the Dolphins. Fan Fade, Saratoga Tuki for the Tigers. Storm, parallel checklist. The converters, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Tommy Talau, parallel for Manly. Women's NRL, Julia Robinson for the Broncos. Charlie Staines, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Jesse Ramian, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Daly Cherry Evans for Manly. Leo Thompson, parallel for Knights. Fan Foes, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Blake Laurie, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Maverick Geyer for Panthers. Eliza Katoa, parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Kyle Felt for the Cowboys. Luciano Leilua, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Katoni Staggs for the Broncos. Sean Lane, parallel for the Eels. Fan Faves, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Jacob Carraz, parallel for the Bulldogs. Women's NRL Gold Parallel, Pauline Razabel for the Tigers, number 39. Rising Stars, Evie McGrath for the Tigers. Roosters Parallel Checklist. Showcase, Luke Brooks for Manly. Jeremiah Nanai, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. Liam Martin, parallel for the Panthers. Gold Parallel, number 9, Thomas Hazelton for the Sharks. Parallel, Morgan Smithies for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Kai Pearce-Paul for the Knights. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Felice Kafusi, parallel for the Dolphins. Fan Faves, Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. And Molly Olaka'atu parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Samuel Stone Street for the Sharks. Tigers, parallel checklist. Converters, Jesse Southwell for the Knights. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Bobby Law, Women's NRL for the Dragons. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Broncos. Women's NRL, Shannon Mato for the Titans. Dylan Lucas, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Caleb for Manly. Raymond Fatala Mariner, parallel for the Dragons. 4 packets left for box number 6. Season to remember, David Armstrong for the Knights. Harry Grant, parallel for Storm. Fan phase, Tohu Harris for the Warriors. Big Tino, parallel for Titans. Rising Stars, Joe Chan for Storm. Jackson Ford, parallel for the Warriors. And our fan phase team for the box, Sharks. Along with Payne Haas, parallel for the Broncos. Alright, that's pretty much halfway. Box number 6 done and dusted. Let's get into box number 7. Season to remember, Tommy Talau for Manly. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. Fan phase, Brian To'o for Panthers. Alex Seyfarth, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Grace Kemp for the Raiders. Brighton Nakora, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Oren Keeley for the Dolphins. Tommy Dearden, parallel for the Cowboys. Showcase, Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Kalen Ponga, parallel for the Knights. Women's NRL, Tiana Penatani in the gold, number 101. Kyle Flanagan, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Casey McLean for Panthers. Parallel, Jerome Hughes for Storm. Converters, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Alexander Brimson, parallel for the Titans. Women's NRL, Jamie Chapman for the Titans. Warriors, parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Skylar Adams for the Broncos. Black Authentics, number 11. Chiquita Whitfield for the Cowboys. Marcus Sivo, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Renato Molitalo for the Sharks. Bulldogs, parallel checklist. Fan phase, Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Lindsay Collins, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Dan Kerr for the Eels. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for the Broncos. Season to remember, Sanua Taruva for Panthers. Dylan Edwards, parallel for Panthers. Fan phase, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Bryce Cartwright, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Leilani Montgomery for the Titans. Jacob Preston, parallel for the Bulldogs. Season to remember, Jock Madden for the Broncos. Eels, parallel checklist. Fan phase, Molly Olaka-Atu for Manly. Reed Marnie, parallel for the Bulldogs. Converters, Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. In the gold, Rising Stars for Storm, Tohu Harris, parallel for the Warriors. Converters, Racine McGregor for the Dragons. Ezra Mam, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Samula Fainu for the Tigers. Sam Walker, parallel for the Roosters. get open. There we go. Club Heroes, Blaze Talagi for the Eels. Reese Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Women's NRL, Jakaya Whitfield for the Cowboys. Matthew Tomoko, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Isaiah Katoa, parallel for the Dolphins. Club Heroes, Jacob Laban for the Warriors. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Fan faves in the team for Panthers. Knights parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Lehe Hopawate for Manly. Tyrell Sloan, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Bradman Best for the Knights. Cameron Munster, parallel for the Storm. Fan faves, Dallin Wateen Zalesniak for the Warriors. David Fafita, parallel for the Titans. Fan faves, Jakaya Whitfield for the Cowboys. Tolator Kawala, parallel for Manly. Fifth last packet for box number 7. Rising Stars, Mawala Graham for the Warriors. Max Plath, parallel for the Dolphins. Rising Stars, Georgia Hanaway for the Sharks. Dream Buller, parallel for the Tigers. Showcase Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Women's NRL, Ella Costa for the Dragons. Isaiah Yeo, parallel for Panthers. Kai Pearce Paul in the gold, parallel number 50. Xavier Savage, parallel for the Raiders. Alright. box number 8. Rising Stars, Josiah for the Titans. Matt Burton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Shania Power in the gold, parallel for the Cowboys, number 145. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Lachlan Galvin, Club Heroes for the Tigers. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Blake Steep for the Roosters. Raiders, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Keon Kolomatangi, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Fan faves, Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Jermaine Isako, parallel for the Dolphins. Fan faves, Nico Hines for the Sharks. Isaac Tago, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Casey Ray for the Dragons. Ruben Garrick, parallel for Manly. Showcase, Valami Kikau for the Bulldogs. Apasai Coruscant, parallel for Tigers. Retirements, Kyle Felt for the Cowboys. Parallel, Cameron McInnes for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Harrison Edwards for the Cowboys. Greg Marsu, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, the Hammer for Dolphins. Tony Staggs, parallel for the Broncos. Converters, Apasai Coruscant for Tigers. Jack DeBellin, parallel for the Dragons. Women's NRL, Ellie Johnson for the Sharks. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars, Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs. Jojo Fafita, parallel for Titans. Season to remember, Chad Townsend for the Cowboys. Tamir Martin, parallel for the Warriors. Fan phase, Jareem Buller. Whoa, what just happened then? Jareem Buller, fan phase for the Tigers. I'm not sure if everyone else got that glitch in the video then. Dean Mariner, parallel for the Broncos. It wasn't the cameras because of the way the screen split then, so I'm not sure what happened. Doesn't matter, we're all back. Rising Stars, Dion for the Rabbitohs. Brian To'o, parallel for Panthers. Halfway through box number 8. Season to remember, Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Joseph Tarpanay, parallel for the Raiders. Fan phase, Jessica Surgis for the Roosters. Jack Whiten, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Dimitri for the Warriors. Tackling Machines, number 34. Mitch Kenny for the Panthers. The Hammer, parallel for Dolphins. Showcase header card, group card, randomised at the end. So now we have 3 of them. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Each one will get randomised individually. You have the silver, bronze, and the normal, the common. Converters Gold, Pauline Razabel for the Tigers. Samula Finu, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Chevy Stewart for the Raiders. Nico Hines, parallel for the Sharks. Gold parallel, Max King, number 49 for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Jack Bostock for the Dolphins. Cowboys parallel checklist. Season to remember, Daniel Tupou for the Roosters. Dane Gagai parallel for the Knights. Fan faves, Herbie Farmworth for the Dolphins. Dragons parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Liam Henry for the Panthers. Trent Lareau, parallel for Storm. Converters, Romy Teetsel for Broncos. Keanu Kinney, parallel for the Titans. Women's NRL, Jesse Southwell for the Knights. Valentine Zalesniak, parallel for the Warriors. Club Heroes, Dane Gagai for the Knights. Alami Kickout, parallel for the Bulldogs. Women's NRL, Olivia Koenig for the Roosters. Spencer Linu, parallel for the Roosters. 4 packets left for the box. Fan phase in the team for Knights. Rising Stars, Rory Owen for the Eels. Reece Walsh, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Josiah for the Broncos. Joe Offengowie, parallel for the Eels. Season 2 Remember, Zach Lomax for the Dragons. Panthers Parallel Checklist. And last packet for the box. Get open. There we go. Fan faves, Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos and Will Penasini for the Eels. I am gonna just step away for a moment, guys. I will be back in less than a minute, hopefully, or thereabouts. So just stay with me. I won't be too long. Alright, we're back, guys. Straight back into it. Box number 9. We have a Legends. We haven't had one for a little while. Number 50. Wayne Pearce. Look at that. First packet of the new box. So that'll get randomized at the end. That will be our last one that we do. So if we have any more that we have to do, they will go before that one. Reece Robson parallel for the Cowboys. I like to leave the Legends for the last after we do the bonus $100 gift card. Showcase Cameron Murray for the Rabbitohs. Apasai Coruscant parallel for Tigers. Fan phase Stephen Crichton for the Bulldogs. Jermaine Isako parallel for Dolphins. Season to remember, Chad Townsend for the Cowboys. Jack DeBellin parallel for the Dragons. Fan phase Dream Buller for the Tigers. Ryan Pappenhausen parallel for the Storm. Rising Stars Bailey Hayward for the Bulldogs. Jojo Fafita parallel for Titans. Samaima Taufa gold parallel for the Raiders 179. Rising Stars Blake Steep for the Roosters. Raiders parallel checklist. Season to remember Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Keon Kolomatangi parallel for the Rabbitohs. Converters Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Tamir Martin parallel for the Warriors. Women's NRL Kennedy Sherrington for the Eels. Dean Mariner parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars Dion for the Rabbitohs. Brian Totter parallel for Panthers. Women's NRL Tigers checklist. Scott Drinkwater parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember Jack Madden for the Broncos. Eels parallel checklist. Fan phase Molly Olakau'atu for Manly. Reed Marnie, parallel for Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Samula Fainu for the Tigers. Sam Walker, parallel for the Roosters. Club Heroes, Jerome Hughes for the Storm. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Fan faves in the team for the Storm. Cameron McInnes, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Harrison Edwards for the Cowboys. Greg Marzu, parallel for the Knights. Club Heroes, Kale Iro for the Sharks. Matthew Tomoko, parallel for the Raiders. Gold Converters, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Rising Stars, Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. And Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Season to remember, Jack Whiten for the Rabbitohs. Isaiah Katoa, parallel for the Dolphins. Jakaya Whitfield, fan fades for the Cowboys. Tolatoa Koala, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Josiah for the Titans. Matt Burton, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Georgia Hanaway for the Sharks. Dream Buller, parallel for the Tigers. Showcase group card. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Gold parallel, Reese Robson for the Cowboys, number 90 of 90. Parallel Knights checklist. Rising Stars, Hopper Wate for Manly. Tyrell Sloan, parallel for the Dragons. Fan phase, Patrick Carrigan for the Broncos. Will Penasini, parallel for the Eels. Converters, Jocelyn Keller for the Roosters. Cameron Munster, parallel for Storm. Women's NRL, Grace Kemp for the Raiders. David Fifita, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars for Storm. Tohu Harris, parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Zach Lomax for the Dragons. Panthers parallel checklist. Braden Best, season to remember for the Knights. Ezra Mam, parallel for the Broncos. Dallin Mateen Zalesniak, fan fave for the Warriors. Isaiah Yo, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Skylar Adams for the Broncos. Micah Sivo, parallel for the Eels. Last packet for box number 9 on the New York Transit line. Rising Stars, Casey Ray for the Dragons. Ruben Garrick, parallel for Manly. Alright. Let's go. Box number 10. Club Heroes, Keanu Kinney for the Titans. Spencer Lenu, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Jack Bostock for the Dolphins. Cowboys, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Matt Burton for the Bulldogs. Joseph Tarpanay, parallel for the Raiders. Fan faves, Jessica Surgis for the Roosters. Jack Whiten, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Fan faves, Blake Laurie for the Dragons. And Keo Weeks, parallel for the Raiders. Fan faves, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. Broncos parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Dimitri for the Warriors. The Hammer, parallel for Dolphins. Showcase a Roger Tuivasa Sheck for the Warriors. Tommy Turbo parallel for Manly. Retirement, Corey Oates for the Broncos. Samula Finu, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Chevy Stewart for the Raiders. Nico Hines, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Zali Faye for the Eels. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for the Warriors. Converters, Nick Meaney for the Storm. Dane Gagai, parallel for the Knights. Women's NRL, Stacey Waka for the Broncos. Dragons parallel checklist. Fan phase team for the Dolphins. Rising Stars, Liam Henry for Panthers, and parallel Trent LaRode for Storm. Season to remember, Daniel Tupou for the Roosters. Keanu Kinney, parallel for the Titans. Fan phase, Herbie Farnworth for the Dolphins. Darren Watine Zalesniak, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Rory Owen for the Eels. Reece Welsh, parallel for the Broncos. Women's NRL, Casey Ray for the Dragons. Max King, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Lachlan Galvin for the Tigers. Victor Radley, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Lily Ann White for the Knights. Tavita Totola, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Showcase, Herbie Farnworth for the Dolphins. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Dolphins. Season to remember, Sean Johnson for the Warriors. Murray Talagi, parallel for the Cowboys. Gold Converters, Racine McGregor for the Dragons. Manly parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Liam Eason for the Sharks. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Season to remember, Jerome Hughes for Storm. Thomas Hazelton, parallel for the Sharks. Fan faves, Kennedy Sherrington for the Eels. Phoenix Crossland, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Ethan Bullimore for Manly. Jaden Sewer, parallel for the Dragons. Club Heroes, Elsie Albert for the Eels. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Converters, Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons. Xavier Coates, parallel for Storm. Women's NRL, Georgia Hale for the Titans. Alafiana Khan Piera, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Lazarus for the Storm. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, parallel for Warriors. Fifth last packet for box number 10. Season to remember, Hammer Fido for the Dolphins. Katoni Staggs, parallel for the Broncos. Fan faves, Nico Hines for the Sharks. Isaac Tago, parallel for Panthers. Gold parallel, number 10. Toltorkal Ala for Manly. Rising Stars, Peter for the Rabbitohs. Scott Sorensen, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Josiah for the Broncos. Joe Offengowie, parallel for the Eels. Gold parallel, number 50. Keezy Apps for the Tigers. And Valami kick out parallel for the Bulldogs to finish off box number 10. Box number 11, leaving our 12th box and our priority box after that. So 3 boxes in total left to go. I think we've got some more tackling machines and still chasing a team sig if the case is nice enough to give us one. Rising Stars, Chevy Stewart for the Raiders. Nico Hines, parallel for the Sharks. Gold parallel, Isabel Kelly for the Roosters, number 144. Dane Gagai, parallel for the Knights. Club Heroes, Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. Dragons parallel checklist. In the gold parallel, number 62, Jack Bostock for the Dolphins. Rising Stars, Liam Eason for the Sharks, and Adam Dewey parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Liam Henry for the Panthers. Trent Leroux parallel for the Storm. Season to remember, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Keanu Kinney parallel for the Titans. Fan phase, Jamie Chapman for the Titans. Darren Martin Zalesniak parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Rory Owen for the Eels. Reece Welsh parallel for the Broncos. Showcase, Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Panthers parallel checklist. Retirements, Luke Keary for the Roosters. Will Penasini parallel for the Eels. Fan phase, Ruben Cotter for Cowboys. Manly parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Josiah for the Titans, and Matt Burton parallel for the Bulldogs. Converters, Kira Dibb for the Cowboys. James Tedesco parallel for the Roosters. Women's NRL, Tegan Berry for the Dragons. Scott Drinkwater parallel for the Cowboys. Fan phase in the team for Titans. Blake Steep, Rising Stars for the Roosters, and Raiders parallel checklist. Season to remember, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Jeremy Marshall King parallel for the Dolphins. Season to remember, Hudson Young for the Raiders. Keon Colomatangi, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Fan faves, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Jermaine Isako, parallel for the Dolphins. Season to remember, Tamika Upton for the Knights. Xavier Coates, parallel for the Storm. Fan faves, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Alifiana Khan Piera, parallel for Titans. Rising Stars, Lazarus for the Storm. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, parallel for Warriors. Showcase, Lachlan Galvin for the Tigers. Katoni Staggs, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Ethan Bullimore for Manly. Jaden Sewer, parallel for the Dragons. Converters, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Isaac Tago, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Josiah for the Broncos. Joe Offengowie, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Anessa Biddle for the Sharks. Falami Kickout, parallel for the Bulldogs. Fan phase, KO Weeks for the Raiders. Spencer Linu, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Jack Bostock for Dolphins. Cowboys, parallel checklist. Converters, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Joseph Tarpanay, parallel for the Raiders. Women's NRL, Taylor Holmes for the Sharks. Phoenix Crossland, parallel for the Knights. Women's NRL, Jasmine Peters for the Cowboys. Jack Whiten, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Dimitri for the Warriors. The Hammer, parallel for Dolphins. 4 packs left, box number 11. Season to remember, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Oh, excuse me. Fan Phase, Dylan Edwards for Panthers. Samula, parallel for the Tigers. Club Heroes, Max Plath for the Dolphins. Thomas Hazelton, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Casey Array for the Dragons. Ruben Garrick, parallel for Manly. Alright, another box done and dusted. Tidy these up and we'll get stuck into the last box of the case, box number 12. We still have the priority box for last, which is next. Fan Phase in the team for Tigers. Chance Nicole Clockstad, parallel for the Warriors. Club Heroes, Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Adam Reynolds, parallel for the Broncos. Converters Gold, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Rising Stars, Casey McLean for the Panthers. And Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Jai Gray for the Rabbitohs. And Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. Season to remember, Katoni Staggs for the Broncos. Sean Lane, parallel for the Eels. Fan Faves, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Jacob Carraz, parallel for the Bulldogs. Women's NRL, Mahalia Murphy in the gold, 188 for the Eels. Rising Stars, Evie McGrath for the Tigers. Roosters parallel checklist. Showcase, Kalen Ponga for the Knights. Jeremiah Nanai, parallel for the Cowboys. Retirement, Nick Kotrick for the Raiders. And Morgan Smithies, parallel for the Raiders. Fan Phase, Mark Nichols for the Dolphins. Kyle Flanagan, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Kai Pearce Hall for the Knights. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Converters Jermaine Isako for Dolphins. Felice Kafusi parallel for Dolphins. Women's NRL Millie Elliott for the Roosters. Amoli Olaka-Atu parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Samuel Stonestreet for the Sharks. Tigers, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Fan faves, Tommy Dearden for the Cowboys. Dylan Lucas, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Caleb for Manly. Raymond Faitala Mariner, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Samantha Bremner for the Roosters. Kalen Ponga, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Alexis for the Dragons. Dylan Edwards, parallel for Panthers. Fan phase, Reece Walsh for the Broncos. Bryce Cartwright, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Leilani Montgomery for the Titans. Jacob Preston, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Dan Kerr for the Eels. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for the Broncos. Showcase, Valami Kickout for the Bulldogs. Connor Watson, parallel for the Roosters. Gold parallel, number 49, Panthers checklist. Jason Taumalo, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Ethan King for the Roosters. Hudson Young, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Jamie Chapman for the Titans. Alex Johnston, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Fan faves, Reed Marnie for the Bulldogs. Dolphins parallel checklist. Women's NRL, Mahalia Murphy for the Eels. Warriors parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Sione Finau for the Dragons. Daly Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Converters, Taylor Preston for the Sharks. Lachlan Galvin, parallel for the Tigers. Women's NRL, Samaima Torfa for the Raiders. Ronaldo Mulatalo, parallel for the Sharks. Club Heroes, Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs. Alexander Brimson, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Lily Peacock for the Cowboys. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Kyle Felt for the Cowboys. Luciano Leilua for the Dragons. Fan fave, Saratoga Tukey for the Tigers. Storm parallel checklist, and we are up to the final packet of the case. Rising Stars, Harry Hayes for the Bulldogs, and Tackling Machines number 45, Regan Campbell Gillard for the Eels, and Milwaukee Fotowaker parallel for Titans to finish off the case, leaving just our priority box left to go. Here it is. Lucky last. Season to remember, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Tommy Turbo parallel for Manly. Dylan Edwards, fan faves for Penrith. Samula Whanu parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Harrison Edwards for the Cowboys. Nico Hines, parallel for the Sharks. And our first priority hit, Club Hero number 21. Tiana Penatani for the Sharks. Just a reminder, remembering that we are able to hit another Legends signature in this priority box, so we can hit a double. Dane Gagai, parallel for the Knights, which I don't believe we've done in this Traders release. I know we've done it in last year's. Women's NRL, Emma Manzelman for the Cowboys. Dragons parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Bailey Haywood for the Bulldogs. Trent LaRoe, parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Keanu Kinney, parallel for Titans. Jamie Chapman, fan phase for the Titans. Dallin Watine-Zelezniak, parallel for the Warriors. Women's NRL, Shaylee Bent for the Titans. Matthew Tomoko, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Dion for the Rabbitohs. Reece Walsh, parallel for the Broncos. Showcase, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Panthers parallel checklist. And our team fan faves in the priority, number 3, nice low one for the Sharks. Will Penasini, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Samula for the Tigers. Matt Burton, parallel for the Bulldogs. We do still have 2 more priority hits to come. We have our Converters Gold parallel version in the priority, as well as another club hero. The Converters were originally one of my favourite, and after doing up the team albums, I think I've gone with the fan faves now. Seeing them in the set, they look quite nice. Season to remember, Hudson Young for the Raiders. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Fan faves, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Oren Keeley for the Dolphins. Sam Walker, parallel for the Roosters. Converters, Taylor Preston for the Sharks. Reece Robson, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Grace Kemp for the Raiders. Dream Buller, parallel for the Tigers. And here's our Gold Converters. Number 15, Mr. Ponga for the Knights. Rising Stars, Fletcher Sharp for the Knights. Raiders Parallel Checklist. Converters, Latrell Mitchell for the Rabbitohs. Parallel, Keon Kolomatangi for the Rabbitohs. Women's NRL, Racine McGregor for the Dragons. Parallel, Jermaine Isako for the Dolphins. Rising Stars, Georgia Hanaway for the Sharks. And we have a black number 3, Keon Kolomatangi for the Rabbitohs. Ruben Garrick, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Lachlan Galvin for the Tigers. Apasai Coruscant parallel for the Tigers. Fan faves, Greg Marshew for the Knights. Cameron McInnes parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Tane for the Warriors. Isaiah Katoa parallel for the Dolphins. Rising Stars, Lehe Hopawate for Manly. Greg Marshew parallel for the Knights. Gold parallel, number 67, Tamir Martin for the Warriors. Jack DeBellin parallel for the Dragons. And our second Club Hero Priority, number 32, Jack Bostock for the Dolphins. Ryan Pappenhausen parallel for Storm. Rising Stars for the Storm. Jojo Fafita parallel for Titans. Season to remember, Regan Campbell-Gillard for the Eels. Tamir Martin parallel for the Warriors. Fan faves, Harry Grant for Storm. Dean Mariner parallel for the Broncos. Fifth last packet for the break. Rising Stars, Skylar Adams for the Broncos. Brian To'o parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Moala Graham for the Warriors. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Showcase Ethan Strange for the Raiders. Eels parallel checklist. Alright, last two. Gold parallel. Number 182. Gale Broughton for the Broncos. Reed Marnie, parallel for the Bulldogs. And last packet to finish us off. Let's see how we go. Fan Faves, Jaden Sewer for the Dragons. And Tolto Koala, parallel for Manly. Alright, well that's the end of the packets, guys. Don't forget we do have these randomizations to do. First we'll start with the Showcase Group number 103 in the silver. We have the Showcase Group in the bronze, which will be second. Then we just have two Showcase Group cards, just normal. So that will be third and fourth. Fifth will be our $100 bonus gift card between all 17 spots. And then to finish us off completely will be the Wayne Keys Legends signature number 50. Alright, let's get started. We will change screens. I will take a copy of that. And let's go 3 times. Number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3. Remembering this is for the silver number 103 showcase. Sean Munns with the Roosters. Alright, let's refresh that, chuck everyone back in, and this is for the bronze showcase group card number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3, Maria Lagan with the Dolphins. Alright, our 2 standard or common showcase cards. Oops, wrong button, there we go. Alright, 3 times around the merry-go-round for our first common showcase group card, number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3, Aaron Livingston with the Broncos. Alright. Our second common showcase group card, number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3, Aaron Livingston with the Broncos again. Alright, second last one that we have to do is for our $100 gift card. So let's go. Number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3, Steve Harris with the Eels. Sorry, I am just writing that down so I don't forget. Alright, lucky last one, and probably the biggest one that we've all been waiting for, Wayne Pearce Legends signature number 50. Here we go. Number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3, William Goodger with the Tigers. Well, thank you to everyone for being a part of it. Don't forget to check out our latest breaks listed yesterday and today. They are both on the website, along with 59 coming soon. If you grab a spot in number 58 and you want to be in the one after that, just remember to hit the wish list, add to my wish list button under the product. And that goes for all sets, individual cards listed on the website. If it's out of stock, add it to your wish list, and when it's put back in, you'll get an email notification. Alright, well that's it. That's all. Hope you had a ball. Until next time.